we get to dive into it because U.S. has qualified for the World Cup. Huge things happening there, but there are still so many more implications on the line for this CONCACAF W Championship. And Monday is going to be a huge, huge day in the Federation.
You know, we hopped on late during the evening when the verdict.
It was actually this morning.
Yeah, it was actually the morning. You're right. It was early in the AM. It was well after midnight for me, well after 1 a.m. for you, but it was official, right? The way things shook out on match day 2 of this tournament, the United States clinched a World Cup berth on Thursday thanks to a 3-0 win by Haiti over Mexico. That means with the United States clinching their spot in the 2023 World Cup, what that means for this CONCACAF championship is that the lowest the United States can place in CONCACAF is second. So congratulations once again. Please go check out our reaction episode to the United States making their 9th World Cup appearance. They are the 12th team to qualify for the 2023 World Cup. It's an exciting time for the United States women's national team, but the work's not done. That was something else that we sort of saw coming out of all of the reactions from last night. We saw the players reacting to the news in real time via their social media as well. A lot of excitement, but we talked about this United States women's national team often on this show. And I've referred to them as sort of this machine, this sort of ridiculous program, right? They're the number 1 ranked team in the world for a reason. They're the national team that probably spends the most time with each other, plays some of the most games throughout the international windows. And they already have the energy where it's like, okay, the job's not done. It's only one of our boxes that are checked off here in this CONCACAF tournament. And they're looking ahead a little bit already to something like winning this entire thing, because that means you get a straight buy-in into the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. If you win this tournament, you get that qualification spot, and you also get the spot for the 2024 W Gold Cup. So there's still some things at stake here for this United States women's national team, Lisa.
There definitely are, because as you mentioned, is that and as everyone on this team is saying, that the job's not done, because yes, the U.S. qualified for the World Cup, but they want to win the CONCACAF W Championship. They don't want to get second. They want to get first. They want to get their ticket to the Olympics, and you can tell the determination is on their faces. But not just the United States, but there's also a lot of moving parts within this CONCACAF championship right now, and everything else that is kind of coming out about it. The teams that are being influenced, and the nations that can qualify and can do certain things like that are truly interesting to kind of evaluate and look at, because Monday is going to be a huge day for these types of federations and for all of these teams. And we have to look at that, and kind of what could happen on Monday is huge. And the U.S. also has implications in that, because they want to get enough points out of this group standing so they get a better seeding in the next round of this tournament. But I think the Olympics being on the line is one of the biggest things that the United States now has their eye on. Win the CONCACAF W Championship and secure a spot in the Olympics.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a new motivating factor, I think, within this tournament, because I think the World Cup qualification was obviously first, but now you've got the other things coming as part of the package deal within this competition. So that doesn't mean necessarily in this final group stage game against Mexico where they're going to obtain those things. There's still something like winning first place in the group, right, is still technically on the line. And advancing to the semifinals and having that number 1 seed going into the semifinals. On the U.S. side of things, you want to win this game. I don't think you want to go into these semifinals saying, okay, let's get into these semifinals and face off against Canada in this semifinal round. I think a lot of people looking into this tournament sort of maybe saw the final coming down to the reigning 2019 World Cup champions and the current Tokyo game Olympic gold medalist in Canada. So there's still that first place, to sort of confirm, in this game against Mexico.
We have to look at the U.S. side of it, because as we look at a Mexican side, that are they going to rise to the occasion? Are they going to turn the script and flip the switch and be that team that comes out and proves what they can do, with what I believe that they can do? Meanwhile, a United States team that is going through a bit of a roster turnover, and they have these newer generation players in the mix of veterans, and they're trying to fight for playing time, every single player. And I think that the United States is taking the challenge that they have been given, and the individual players are taking the challenge of fighting for roster spots. And you look at the battle between Ashley Hatch and Alex Morgan in that number 9 center striker role, and these U.S. players are doing that, and they're fighting, and they're proving that they want to go out and win everything, and they've gotten this one. And what's the next one? What's the next win they can get? What's the tournament they can win next? Can they qualify for the Olympics? And they keep raising the bar for themselves, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious on the U.S. side of things here, Lisa, because we've been chatting up Mexico and what we think, is on the line for them, and what we could see from them. But with the World Cup spot already clinched, with maybe sights ahead a little bit on nabbing a spot for the 2024 Olympic Games, what do we think we might see from this United States women's national team side? Because there's a couple areas on the pitch that I'm looking at positionally, personnel-wise. I'm wondering if someone like Amel Pugh gets time in this game. She went back-to-back games for this team in the group stage. We're talking max minutes here for the United States. What are we going to see in the goalkeeper position? Is there going to be more rotation there? What are some areas you're looking at for this team heading into this game? Is there some rotation that you would like to see? Is there someone on the team that you want to see get more minutes?
Yeah, I think these are all incredibly important questions, and you can't just look at the last match that the United States played against Jamaica, but you do have to reference that first match against Haiti, because you talk about a player like Mallory Pugh, who got 90 minutes in those games, someone like Alana Cook, who also got 90 minutes, and the players that maybe didn't play the last time the U.S. played against Jamaica, we saw a number of players get rest. I imagine we'll see more rotation, because you have to remember that Vlatko Andonovski and this team, yes, they're looking at this U.S. versus Mexico match, incredibly important for them. They need to get the win. They need to get goals and points on the board, but they also have more games after that. They've already made it out of this group stage. They have to continue on. They want to get first in CONCACAF. So you have to play the long game, in a sense, with this U.S. team. They play Monday, and then they'll play again on Thursday. When we look at the goalkeeper position, Casey Murphy got the start in the first match for the U.S. against Haiti. Alyssa Nair, full 90 in the second match against Jamaica. I'm not entirely sure. I think you might go back to Casey Murphy. We talked a little bit about Aubrey Kingsbury, and if we'll see her get her qualifying debut and make her qualifying debut and get a cap with the U.S. in this tournament. I'm not entirely sure, though. I think between Murphy and Nair, he's got really good things going on there. It would behoove him to give Kingsbury some experience. However, I'm not entirely sure against Mexico if that's the move that Vlatko Andonovski is going to make. The rotation in the midfield as well. Andy Sullivan did not see time against Jamaica. She got the rest there. So will she be back in that role? They've slotted in Christy Mewis into that defensive 6 role. Will she get a start in that role and kind of see how she can dictate the game from the beginning? Alex Morgan got full rest. Megan Rapinoe got full rest. Becky Sauerbrunn got full rest in these last matches. I expect we'll see more minutes from them. I expect to see more minutes from Megan Rapinoe as someone who was brought into this tournament. Minute management has to be a factor in this match. I would love to see more from Trinity Rodman. Not entirely sure she'll get a start. However, a substitute in at 45, that would be fantastic to see. I want to see how Trinity Rodman plays alongside someone like Alex Morgan in that front line, maybe with a Margaret Purse. But with Morgan in that number 9 central striker and Trinity Rodman out wide in a position that she's a little bit more comfortable in versus playing that center number 9 striker that we saw against Jamaica. That's really what I want to see in the front line for Vlatko.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you too about the goalkeeper position. I just don't think at this stage in the tournament is where you say, you know what, we're going to give our number 3 goalkeeper minutes in this game in the final match group stage, but who knows? We'll see. Obviously, when that plays out, if there is a rotation in goalkeeper, I would imagine it would go to Murphy in a game like this. But I would like to see more Chrissy Mewis in a game like this. Quite frankly. If the idea is to preserve Andy Sullivan as much as you can, or even Lindsay Horan as much as you can, because she's a player who's been subbed out of these last couple of games. If that's the idea, if that's the game plan, why not give Chrissy Mewis a full shot at Mexico here with the final group stage match and the World Cup already clinched? So
what about Taylor Korniak? We saw her get minutes in the US's last match against Jamaica. I don't think she'll get a start, but
I guess I'm thinking more positionally. I guess I'm thinking more like in the 6 role, as I made my reference to Andy Sullivan, because if we see Korniak come into this game, I don't know if it's in a deeper role like that. She's been thriving this year in 2022 a little bit higher, and quite frankly, if they put Taylor Korniak out there against Mexico in a higher position, I mean, that's going to be a tough day, a tough day for that Mexican back line. I mean, you're talking about the tallest player out there on the pitch.
6'1".
Yeah.
Taylor Korniak is 6'1".
There would be not a lot of answers for that. None, quite frankly. I think if you're the defense, if you're Mexico's defense, you're going to be like, what the hell, man? So, it's just going to be like, te odio. So it's going to be like, it would be tough if that would come into play. But we've seen her get a few minutes. Maybe that is a player that they're going to give a little bit more extended minutes to. Again, I don't know, with the return of Megan Rapinoe, do you try to get some minutes under her belt in this game going into the knockout rounds? I don't know if it's a full 45 or a start or a final 30 minutes in the second half. I don't think that's a bad idea. Jet lag is very, very real. Maybe you want to try to give that player some minutes going into those knockout rounds. So
just get her legs moving and for sure.
I think the real point here is that, quite frankly, there's options here. Quite frankly, there's options here. It's impressive what the team has done. I think there's been some storylines right around this team going into this tournament, and one of them was going to be lack of experience. Quite frankly, there's a lot of players on this team that have not had the challenge of being the roster that has to go out and qualify for the World Cup. This was a very different scenario for many of these players. And guess what? They did it in like 1.5 match days. Yeah. It's it just goes to show how incredibly strong the depth of this team is, how wide the player pool of this team is, and that you can task them with something like this and they can go out there and achieve it. So now the next thing is snatching first place in this group and moving on to the knockouts and getting and winning the whole thing. And I think that even with the options, even with players who might perhaps see extended minutes in this match that may not have seen a lot of minutes in the first 2 games, they will still find success on the pitch.
I agree. And Vlatko has to be looking at he has to be playing the long game. And I think injuries also play a part in that. And I know he said that everyone is 100%, but this is an opportunity to maybe rest a Lindsay Horan, as you mentioned, or Sophia Smith that's maybe dealing with something, or Mallory Pugh, who's played back-to-back 90 plus. Because you have to play the long game. At this point, the U.S. is vying for number 1 in this CONCACAF. They've checked off the first thing, qualifying for the World Cups. Now can they win the tournament? And then can they qualify for the Olympics? 1 done, 2 more to go for the United States. And it all happens on Monday, where a lot of other implications happen as well, because it's match day 3 for all of these nations, especially in Group A. And there's a lot on the line so far for this group.
Yep, both groups are going to close out their group stage on Monday, July 11th. You've got Canada, Costa Rica, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago as the first slate of games kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern. First place, obviously, on the line in that group as well. And for Group A little bit different. It's going to be the doubleheader for Group A is going to be the late night slate of games. Those matches are going to be kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern. You're going to have Jamaica versus Haiti on one side, and then of course United States women's national team going up against Mexico on the other side of things. Both of those games kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern, like I said. So, this might be one of those nights. This must be one of those evenings where folks are going to have the multi-screeners going on. I know we do that a lot here at Taking Third when we're texting each other, showing each other our setup, how many screens we got going on with the games. But it'll be an exciting final match day, and I know we're going to be tuned in on that to make sure that we update everybody on all the happenings in the CONCACAF W Championship. That's all we got for today's preview, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to Attacking Third. Please go ahead and nominate us for the best female hosted podcast. You can vote for Attacking Third at the podcastawards.com/app/sign up. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you listen to your shows. We're also available as video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit youtube.com/attacking third. And we'll be back covering the CONCACAF W Championship in depth, all tournament long, with in-depth previews and live United States women's national team recaps. For Sandra, Herrera, and Lisa Roman, this was Attacking Third.